Hey all, hope you're all doing well. Lovely and sunny in the UK at the moment. The topic today, let's try and keep it brief, but I say that every time. It should be brief this time, it's a simple one. It's texting versus phone calls and video calls. So basically the context around this is obviously we love to text more and more these days than actually rather than doing video calls or even phone calls. I think the majority of my friends prefer to text, so there are still people who prefer to phone call, and I usually call them, and I really appreciate that. I just find it weird. It's understandable, but weird how we've kind of rejected calls so much and video calls, and just love to rely on text as the way to communicate mainly. Because I remember, used to when we were like younger as kids, you'd like phone like your friend's house number and see if they were there and talk to them over the phone. Do you guys remember that? And like remembering friends' house numbers, phone numbers? That's crazy. You don't even do that now. You don't even call them, you just text. So it's weird how the time's changing so fast. It makes me sound so old school at the same time. But then even so much so, a kind of trend I found kind of weird is that, people find it really uncomfortable to talk over the phone now. Like it's actually something of somewhat of a bit of an anxiety. Which I kind of get, but if you kind of step back and think about it, it's kind of quite bizarre. And not just, maybe with random people, but even with close friends or something like that. It's a bit of anxiety-inducing kind of experience phone calls now, which is really strange. And I don't know. I found it. I'm just maybe I'm a bit old school, but I like to stay in contact with my friends for a good amount of time. And I'll be on the phone pretty much every week with kind of similar people who like to call a lot, and just to kind of catch up and everything like that. And I just like listening to their voice, because I think with texting, you can't really get any kind of tone or sarcasm or any kind of emote with their voice, rather than when you can actually hear them. I think communication is just generally a lot better, and I find like you're able to go on segues a lot more. The conversations are kind of a lot more fluid and natural. Obviously natural, because obviously for humans it is more natural to talk than it is to text, but obviously that's changing. But I just find texting to be a bit more almost kind of robotic. Which is quite funny because this music's almost kind of sounding quite robotic. I didn't plan that. But yeah, all kind of, a bit more kind of, mechanical. I like the human side of talking, and better yet, actually be able to see someone, because that's the next level where you can actually see the expressions on their face, and it's, that's integral to the part of human communication as well. So I just don't feel like communication's as good, it's as authentic if you're not calling someone, or even video calling someone. I just way prefer it to then texting, because for me, I think texting, ideally I would like it really just to kind of be able to arrange stuff. It's kind of more of a very quick oh, are you free? Yeah. Or do you want to go to the park this weekend? Yeah. Or how does dinner with so and so sound? Yeah, that sounds great. I'm here, etc. Stuff like that, for actually having conversations on there. It's not bad, but I'd rather just pick up the phone, and just have a human conversation, rather than just kind of spend so much time. How long it takes for a conversation on a text to take, you could be over in 5 minutes. An hour text conversation could take 5 minutes on the phone. That's just better. I kind of find it weird. And I think I don't know if we will, but it would be good to kind of realise the importance of calling and seeing and then video calling and seeing people and hearing people's voices. Go back to the human side of it again, because I think it just generally entwines with a lot of like disconnect where we feel less connected to people, like I've talked about even with kind of best friends video, where we're not as close to people anymore, and this along with social media and many other things just kind of adds to it, where we're just kind of creating even more distance between people, like, and just less human, like natural human interactions. And it's really weird when I call friends and they're kind of quite freaked out about it, or they don't sound very comfortable, but they're completely fine in person. Like even extroverted people, it's not just an introvert thing, or like anxiety induced people, but it's really weird. And I don't think it's a good thing. Because I could call a friend, and they'll be like, they should be like, that's obviously nice that they thought of me so much so that they wanted to pick up the phone and talk to me. But then some people obviously find that kind of out of the blue quite too much. I mean, the argument against it is, imagine if you're kind of walking on the street and then someone out of nowhere just kind of, I don't know, comes at you and starts talking, and you can't really walk away from the conversation, etc. But that happens still, and we're kind of still okay with that. So I somewhat get it. But then even like, let's say, okay, why don't we call this Friday? It's like, no, can we just text instead? I'm like, oh my god, like, come on, let's talk rather than text. Yeah, and I just wonder where it will go. Like, so we've gone from, phoning to video calling, but then back to phoning, down to text now. And I'm wondering where the next step will be, where it will be even more further apart, less human. So yeah, I mean, even if we go back to like, base biology about communication, we read so much, and we can really have a good conversation and tell what people and kind of almost be really engaged with people when we can see their face and we can hear the tone in their voice. Because like facial expression is huge to communication. I mean, even like one biological evolution characteristic that humans have is our eyes used to be just singular colour, so we didn't have the white around the iris. But then over time, we evolved to have that white around the iris, so then you could see basically where the iris was in essence focusing, looking. So this was like all the way back, when humanity was kind of tribal, etc. And the members of the tribe who would, when you're talking to them or even saying something, you saw like their eyes were looking down or were looking around, etc. Kind of, that's a sign of them maybe lying or maybe feeling anxious, etc., etc. And then obviously the ones who could maintain eye contact were being truthful or being honest. So even kind of it evolved into our communication. The way we communicated even evolved into how our eyes. It's really interesting. You should look it up. There's like some YouTube videos about it. But it just shows the importance of it's built into us as social beings. Like it's within our DNA that we need to be able to see people and at least hear tone. Like that's why we've evolved in that way, to be able to communicate, because we are social beings, and to kind of just cut those two like fundamental things out. It's kind of quite worrying, and you can question like what that will do to our ability to like form relationships and stay in like in have good bonds with people and stay in contact with people, etc. I mean, but going back to like the basics, I just think calling is a good thing, and if you could just pick up the phone and just talk to someone every 2 weeks or so, rather than just kind of texting, and have the boldness to actually just give a call, because of course we've all become pathological in texting now, and even obviously I have to engage in the texting conversations, and I don't mind it, but if I didn't, then I wouldn't be able to talk to people because they wouldn't talk back. But it's because everyone does it, that means you have to do it, and obviously, well, not that, because everyone does it, that means obviously that's why texting has become so big, because I have to do it, and I still don't really do loads of it. I prefer to call anyway. I'm kind of try and resist it a bit. But yeah, like hopefully, you know, we can try and go back to some human interaction. I really value the people in my life who do really value that as well. And you know, if maybe we kind of talked about it a bit more, and some people are like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Actually, I think it would be good. And actually, it's not a scary thing, really. Kind of just talking over the phone, or kind of doing a Skype call, etc. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of the video. I know it's like an older generation thing. I mean, even my auntie will be like, yeah, I just find calling just to be texting to be quite cold. I prefer to call and see. But I mean, she's from, actually I would say. So yeah, that's my opinion on it, and I just feel like it's been a bit of a weird progression. I don't think it's very good progression that we've kind of gone away from phone calls and video calls and gone more to text, and kind of that's how we communicate in our relationships, friendships, whatever. So yeah, I mean, I just think I think it's again down to a lot of like a lot of other issues with you know, in terms of like anxiety amongst our generation these days, etc., etc. I mean, the ability to, you know, obviously read a text and then really think about what your response is. It's quite structured, you know, and rigid, you know, rather than kind of on the fly conversations, because I don't think then you really kind of get what people really kind of feel or think in the moment. Spontaneous thought, it gets rid of spontaneous thought, because yes, you can think about what you can reply, but that's not the point of kind of natural conversation, because you're meant to be able to stumble and just say what's there and have a bit of fun with it, you know. Around people, obviously, you can do that. So yeah, that's a bit of a shame, but that's my opinion. I just wanted to say, and I don't know what you guys think. Maybe you can let me know whether you're a person who prefers to call or prefers to text, or maybe I'm missing something. So probably am, but I just do feel generally, unless like there's kind of convincing argument, that I think calling is just a bit more human and a bit better to do. So yeah, I hope you guys have a good rest of the day. Or should I say, have a beautiful day. And yeah, peace out.